Dave, how are you, sir?
Oh, it's always fun this day, Mike. How are you?
Well, I know you guys are very busy. We appreciate a couple minutes real fast. Let's first go back to Friday, the chemo deal. I got to assume that most people think that the Flyers did a really good job, Ron Hextall, getting good reviews for that deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a guy who hasn't played since last April, getting a second-round pick and what could end up being another second-round pick if Chicago makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals and Timonen plays at least half the games in the Western Conference Finals. That becomes another second-round pick, and that's a huge haul for a guy who, Chicago really doesn't know if he can play tonight. I mean, he'll play tonight, but they haven't seen the guy play in almost a full calendar year. So that's a really big haul, and that's what I think made a lot of probably general managers around the league open their eyes and go, whoa, this is a seller's market big time. I mean, I didn't think that the Flyers could get a first-round pick for Braden Coburn, and then I saw what they got for Kimmo Timonen and said, wow, maybe they can. And indeed, they got a first, a third, and a roster player, a 24-year-old roster player, a young guy that Tampa Bay liked and drafted in the third round in 2010. Got a big haul for Coburn as well. So yeah, I mean, this was clearly a seller's market, and it's kind of interesting what Ron Hextall did there, because he justified it the other day, saying Timonen, he didn't really feel like that took away from his current roster because Timonen hadn't played it all this year. And Craig Berube said that he didn't think the Coburn deal weakened the team because it's kind of a fine line. You're looking at this seller's market, and then at the same time, the Flyers are on the outside looking in and still have a ways to go if they want to make the playoffs. But Ron Hextall didn't go into full sell mode there.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, Dave, that they basically, kept their team intact to try to, make these 6 points up by giving up two guys that really haven't contributed all that much to this year's team. I think I saw the Flyers tweet out that they were 12-7-5 without Coburn and just 15-18-6 when he played. So two guys who virtually contributed very, little this year. So they kept their team intact, and they added a first round, a second round, and a third round pick, and potentially more. I guess Ron Hextall has showed that he's a pretty shrewd guy at that GM position.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that thinks that he's an extension of Paul Holmgren, I think, is being shown that that's incorrect. These deals, like I said, it's a fine line that he's trying to walk here, because he's always talked about looking towards the future, and he clearly addressed that in this 2015 draft, which is supposedly very deep, and at the same time kind of kept this crew together, which he said even a month ago he thought was a playoff team on paper when he started the year, so he wants them now to prove it.
Dave Isaac's with us. Ron Hextall is going to speak at the bottom of the hour, and Dave will be there if something major happens. Do you think anything's going to trickle in, or do you think those two deals are the two deals that the Flyers get done?
No, I think that's pretty much what they had up their sleeves. I think they're done. I don't foresee anything trickling in at this point. Was
there, in your mind, any possibilities to move other guys, or just, were they kind of not wanting to break up what they currently have? Were they kind of focusing in on a guy like Coburn and Timonen and knowing that they hadn't really been a big part of the roster this year? And they got what they got and said, you know what, we did pretty good. Let's keep this team together the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And Hextall said, he told me even a couple of weeks before the deadline that he wasn't going to move any young players. When fans look at the roster and play armchair general manager and see what could the Flyers get in assets in return for some of these guys, that's a fun game to play. But Hextall didn't want to go down that route. Could he have gotten something for a guy like Braden Shen? Yeah, probably. And he probably could have gotten a lot for him when you see the return on guys like Coburn and Timonen. But he wants to keep this core together, and it'll be interesting to see these pieces from the 2015 draft, if any of them will be able to make an impact immediately, or if one of their young defensive prospects are able to make the jump and come up next season, or maybe they do something in the summer that helps them next year, because the narrative now becomes how much time does does this crew have left? I mean, you talk about the Phillies for a few years there that had that core, and there's a window that closes at a certain point. And Claude Giroux's 26 years old, Wayne Simmons 26 years old, Jake Voracek 25 years old, Steve Mason 26 years old. When does that window close? So it'll be interesting to see how Hextall reacts to that. When we talk to him here in a little bit.
Yeah, two good deals for Ron Hextall today, getting a lot of picks in, as Dave just mentioned, a very one of the deeper drafts in recent past. It looks like the Flyers, too, did very well in recent drafts, so they do have a lot of young guys down there that could be coming up. And, I always said, you have a lot of young defenders now that could be coming up soon. Once they get paired with these young forwards who are now becoming more veteran forwards in a year or so, it'll be interesting to see when they all get this together. So it seems that Hextall has done a good job of keeping an eye on the future and also letting this team try to see if they can hit their ceiling a little bit here. So I guess you got to applaud him big time today. And obviously, moving forward here, this 6 points is going to be tough, but at least he's given him a chance to try to make that up.
Yeah, with the guys that are left, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he came into this job last year really thinking on that plan and that long-term guide for the future, what he's going to do there. He's been trying to, I guess, balance, not tanking, but trying to have a team that's going for it now while still making the big priority going for it in the future. And now he's got 2 first-round picks, which I don't think has happened for this club since they drafted Jeff Richards and Mike Carter. Jeff Carter and Mike Richards in the first rounds years ago. They almost seem like the same guy. That was just a Freudian slip there. But I don't think they've had 2 first-round picks since that draft. So it'll be a big summer for them, certainly.
All right, 19 games left, 6 points back. They do play Boston on Saturday, so that one will obviously be a big one. The Florida Panthers made the deal for Yager, and really it'll be fun to see these last 19 games for Philly, 20 for Boston. Philadelphia back on the ice tomorrow night. Steve Mason would be in goal, obviously. Are you surprised that he's back out there and playing as well as he did? I thought he was brilliant on Saturday.
No, he was very, very good, especially in that third period there. I think he made 16 saves in the third. He said he was close, and he didn't expect to be called into action there in Toronto. And Rob Zepp let up 2 goals on 8 shots, and then Mason goes in there and stops 8 of 9. The Flyers, didn't give him a big workload that night, but I think there were a lot of people that thought that was maybe too soon to bring him back into the fold, considering the day before he said it felt like he hadn't skated in 2 weeks. Now he looks fine. He said that there was a certain shot there 2 nights ago where, maybe he had his knee in the back of his mind, and once he kind of faced that shot and got through the movements of getting from post to post, he said to himself, okay, it's fine. I don't need to worry about it anymore. So he certainly looked like a guy that didn't have a worry in the world in the final period there.
Well, that'll be a good addition for them over these last 19, and then I guess Emery back. So they'll get their 2 guys back after playing a little goalie musical chairs there for about 2 weeks. But the final 19 should be interesting. And again, Boston on Saturday should be fun. Dave Isaac, Courier Post Online at Dave G. Isaac.